So, how to upgrade your child's thinking so that they think better than 99% of people on Earth? And it's a very simple concept, and it's something that I've been personally working on for decades now to just try to understand what's really the core of it all and what really makes right. So it's slightly going to be a longer lecture where I'll share with you all the different techniques, all the different things that as a parent of a child, of a teenager, that you really need to understand so that you are able to share it with them, they are able to take it within you. And then towards the end, I'll also mention what are the different techniques that can be applied by you as a parent so that you create an environment where they actually use their minds, use their brains to the best of their ability. And to the to the realities that we live in. Now, first, let me set some context though. Like, why do we really need to upgrade our thinking? It's very simple to say that, thinking is good and thinking is this and that and all that. But at the end of the day, if you look at the world today, it is quite a messed up place. It's messed up in its own way, as in there's so much uncertainty because of AI, because of content that is pushed around here and there. The news is saying something else, your friends are saying something else, your grandparents are saying something else, and so on and so forth. So, whom do you as a parent listen to? And then, of course, the child themselves, they have their own ideas, and then they are also significantly influenced by their friends and the stars that they kind of follow. So when you look at all of the myriad of discussions and things that are going on around you, it is quite a messed up place in that way because everyone is trying to push up their ideas to you, including myself. We are doing that right now. But at the same time, I'm aware that it is, it is going to happen. It's just part of the deal of being alive and on this planet in this particular time frame. But with that messing up, there are also a lot of opportunities. And those opportunities are simply uh, the lifestyle that we have today. None of our ancestors ever could have gotten it. And they would actually, kill to be in our positions in our lifetime, in our world of technology today. With all the tools and technology, what has happened is it has made access democratized so much so that anyone can do anything today. It's so simple to there are things that were impossible earlier are now possible today, such as, starting a company as a single person and taking it up to $1 billion. That is a possibility today, a serious possibility today, and multiple people have done that, including content creators, for that matter. So there are so many ways that we are also richer, but at the same time, it is a messed up world that we need to prepare for. Now, there's a lot of change that is coming already right now as we talk about it in 2026. But as we go forward in 27, 28, 29, it's only going to become even more further as the competition increases within these AI and technological world. And that technology starts to trickle down into other parts of our lives that we haven't even touched yet. So all of these essentially accounts for a new world order, a new way of thinking, a new way of actually creating these uh, mental models, these mental upgrades, so that you can actually teach your child how to think better and not just what to think. And that's a major distinction that none of us actually get, that we are trying to teach uh, the students what to think rather than actually how to think and how to analyze a situation. How do you actually make a decision? How do you actually stand by that decision when things don't go in your favor, and so on and so forth. Now, in all of these situations, the students will have to make smart decisions going forward. One for their life. That means what are they going to do in their future? That means are they going to become a banker? Are they going to become a tech startup guy? Are they going to become, a doctor, and so on and so forth? The careers that they'll choose, the kind of lifestyle that they want to live for themselves and for the families that they're going to create for themselves. So all of those decisions need to stem out from them. It can't be given to them because that will just hurt their own self-esteem, their own self-confidence. And for us as parents, as adults, we can only give them the tools. We can only give them the uh, boundaries and the frameworks and the ways of seeing at the world, so that they are able to understand all the different nuances that are there to the world that we live in, and then hopefully they are able to make a better decision. And sometimes they do make a great decision, sometimes even better than what we could have thought of. So all of this is really required in today's time and age. Uh, and most importantly, this whole idea of having a high conviction in your decisions, that requires rigorous understanding of what you're talking about, what decision needs to be made, and of course, how have you thought about that particular situation? How have you thought about that particular overall ideation? Now, the solution to all of this that I'm telling you about is having a set of mental toolkits for the child, right? So if the student has this mental toolkit with them, and essentially it's a toolkit where they can just pick out different things from, depending on which area of life or which situation in life they kind of are facing. And that essentially allows them to capture uh, capture and understand the world, and of course figure out the best solution in that particular period. So this mental toolkit is what I'm going to share with you today. Now, there are three king I'm just going to start sharing my screen. There are three main ones that I'm going to be talking to you about. So these are the three main ones that I'm going to be talking to you about. And then there's also going to be a bonus fourth one that I'll share. All right. So the first one, the first part of building that mental toolkit, which essentially allows your child to have a smarter, better decision-making structure that they can use forever in their life, is this idea of principles. Now, principles, they need to collect these principles. I'm only giving the three that I've put down over here are just examples, but principles are truths about the world. These are real world truths about the world that no one seems to recognize except for the people who are looking for it. So, principles are the truths about the world that the students really need to start grabbing and start using for the world. I also call them cheat codes. These are also cheat codes in the sense that once you understand a principle, you can actually apply them in all the different domains that you essentially work from, right? So the principles essentially can very easily cross pollinate between different industries, between different domains, between different things altogether. And that's what makes it so interesting and so cool. So these are cross domain things, ideas that essentially stay alive and stay true over there as well. Now, Ray Dalio has given couple of like he's written a book called Principles, and that's a great place to start. I'm just writing it down over here so that you can actually start going and start, looking at those things and hopefully sharing it with your child. So Ray Dalio's book, which is called Principles, is a really cool book to start taking all of these different principles, start noticing all of these different principles all around yourself, and then, of course, start applying them to your own life. Now, your child essentially is going to be needing these in all the different areas. It will be needed in terms of thinking about their long-term health, long-term goals, long-term relationships, long-term wealth. All of these things will require principles thinking, because first principles thinking, as we call it as well. So first principles thinking essentially means you start from the truths. You start from things that you know are truthful, and you build up from there. And that's what first principles thinking is all about. And that's what uh, the students need to start learning at a young age, so that they are able to develop their mental toolkit smartly, so that they're able to actually make decisions that that are required at that particular position, right? You need to start digging the well before you get thirsty, rather than waiting too long and then go forward. I know I've done that mistake. I know I've kind of pushed off on it, but you can start whenever you get that idea once again. So yes, principles are the truths about the world, the cheat codes of the world that a student, once they understand it, once they, put it in their brains, once they really start living their lives based on these principles, it compounds, it becomes so cool, it becomes so uh, uh, fast. They give the results so fast that you won't even realize that's happening, or what is happening rather. So let me give you a couple of examples of the principles. Again, these are I mean, these are not even a handful. These are just a minuscule amount of principles that I'm going to be sharing. Now, in Iyengar yoga, which is the kind of yoga that I practice and my entire family practices, is there's this principle of stability and mobility. And the idea of stability and mobility in Iyengar yoga is simply this, that when you go into an asana, you essentially stay there for as long as possible. But as you start adjusting your body, if say you're working on your legs and you're pulling up your kneecaps and you're pushing your thighs back and all of those things, then essentially when you start moving your upper body or adjusting your upper body, you have to keep your lower body stable. That means one part of the body is always stable and the other part of the body moves, right? Now, stability and mobility is very important, because in life, essentially what tends to happen is you have to make one part of your life stable in order to allow the other part of your life to have a mobility, to have forward motion, to have forward momentum. For example, a simple idea of stability is making a career choice, right? Which branch the student takes, or which domain the student wants to go, right? If they want to go into tech, or if they want to go into doctor, or like, biology, or if they want to go into law. Like, these are stable things. Once they make that decision, it's very difficult for them to change it, right? It's not like they can't change it, but it is very difficult. And that's what we're talking about over here, that once you realize that this is the stable thing, that once that student has taken the decision of going into law, then they can be mobile, they can experiment within that domain, they can experiment which part of the law or which branch of the law do they really want to go in, or their interest lies, or they want to experiment with, or they want to create an innovation around in. But once this particular thing is stable, the actual broad decision is stable, only then that part becomes mobile. You cannot start looking around in the branches of law trying to figure out your interests when you don't have a very clear sense of where you're standing, or if you actually want to go forward with that particular thing or not. So stability and mobility as a principle applies everywhere, be it your career decision, be it your education decision, be it your uh, health goals, whatever that might be. So you have to commit to something. Yeah. When you commit to something, that means you're making that stable. You're making that a must. You're making that a surety, and only then you're able to move the different aspects of things around. So stability and mobility is a really cool principle that students need to learn. But again, these are just examples so that I'm able to share with you what really are principles and how they are really cheat codes to life. And the second one is equally important, which is Pareto principle. Now, Pareto principle is very famous, very popular in investing and business domains. Everywhere else also it is applicable. In fact, it was a principle that was found out from by a biologist. So Pareto was a biologist, or rather, it was not Pareto who coined this, but rather someone else before that who uh, noticed it in pea pods that 20% of the pea pods, or rather the pea trees or plants, were essentially giving 80% of the peas of the entire bulk of the peas that were grown in that season. And so that botanist, that person realized that this was happening. And then came in and he noticed that the exact same thing was happening in economics as well, in real estate as well, that top 20% of the people in a particular geography controlled or owned 80% of the land, or privately owned land, essentially, that was there. So Pareto applied it to economics, and then from economics, it went on to business and it went on to investing and whatnot. So essentially, it says 80%, 20% of effort on, or rather 20% of things, okay, well, whatever things they are. So 20% of things gets you 80% of the results. This is essentially what the Pareto principle is, and it is highly, highly, highly popular in investing in business domains. In fact, the entire VC industry is based on a variation of the Pareto's principle, that is the power law. So the entire VC industry, or the venture capital industry, which essentially puts in money in all of the startups, is based on this variation of Pareto's principle, that is the power law, that only a small subset, that maybe it could be 1%, maybe it could be 10%, 10% of all of their investment will be really good. That means they will have extreme results, such that it will essentially outshine everything else, the 90% of the investments that they make, right? So Pareto principle is, again, once you understand this cheat code, you can apply it to anything. You can apply it to your health as well. Like, what are the 20% supplements that I need to take in order to get the 80% results in terms of my health that I need to do? Or what are the 20% exercises that I need to do? Or what is the 20% amount of movement that I need to do every day so that I get the 80% results in my body, in my weight, in my health, right? So that is Pareto principle, and really important and really cool stuff. Then next is everything is a remix. Now, everything is a remix is really important again as a principle, because we think uh, common misconception. It's a misconception that creativity has to be original. This is a misconception. And when you start looking at the world from this idea of everything is a remix, because everything is a remix, you never really have anything original completely, right? You will always have pick out ideas that resonate with you, and you kind of combine those ideas together. It's always, always multiple ideas coming together to create something new and unique. So all of your famous directors, famous storytellers, product developers, everyone, essentially what everyone does is they have this highly attuned sense of ideas and uh, taste, essentially, that they pick out scenes, they pick out movie scenes, they pick out ways of filming that particular scene, they pick out ways of creating a product. Like Steve Jobs famously did this, that he would go to, say, Menlo Park, and essentially go into, he essentially went into the Xerox Park uh, research center. And over there, he saw these multiple different devices that they were working on. One of them was the mouse. And one of them was the mouse, and the second one was the GUI, which is the graphical user interface that we use in computers today. And he realized, oh shit, like this is really cool. This is the future of computing, and I need to have that in Apple computers. And so he came back and he applied that. He first applied the mouse, and then he started working with the GUI. And once he kind of created that with the signature Apple stuff, which is the Apple stuff being the white casing, the beautiful layout with the fonts and all of those things. The fonts, the idea of fonts also coming from his um, earlier college days, where he did like a calligraphy class, and from there he essentially pulled that idea together and put everything together. He put all of these two, three, four, 10, 100 ideas together to create this amazing product that we know as Macintosh, right? Back in the day, it was Macintosh, and then from there, MacBook and whatnot. So at the end of the day, yes, the Macintosh as a product is unique because it has so many different ideas. But when he was creating it, when it was starting when it was in development, it was not an original thought. It was a combination of multiple different ideas coming together. And that is a principle. That is a principle that a child, that a student, that a teenager needs to know, that, creativity is not 100% original. It doesn't mean that you have to be completely original. All you need to do is take an idea from one place and apply it into a different domain. And that suddenly opens up a whole new world to you, because no one else has tried that, or no one else has actually applied it in that particular domain. And so it just creates a new kind of phenomena altogether. Right? So all of these things to hone in this one idea that principles are the truths about the world, and they are the cheat codes through which you're able to figure out the world. And then once you figure out the world, you're able to actually navigate it easily. Then the second part of how you can help your child to think better is through the idea of mental models. Now, mental models are really important. Mental models are uh, figuring out how things work, which is also partly what principles were, but this is more on ground level. So figuring out how things work, and also it's a way of seeing the world. It's a way of seeing the world. All right. So it's one, figuring out how the world works, and then second, it's a way of seeing the world through that lens. So, for example, this is by Darwin. Again, I'm going to give you the example first, and then I'm going to come back to it. So, let's take this evolution, specialization, and niches. This is essentially the principle by Darwin was that survival of the fittest, or the fittest people or fittest organism in a particular environment, they survive. So then we see what actually happens through that. And so in nature, what happens is evolution happens, specialization happens, and niches get created. What that means is evolution, meaning new bodies, new species, new colors, etc. All of these get created through the process of evolution. Specialization is essentially the ability to stick to a particular environment really well. That's what specialization is all about. So essentially what happens is specialization happens as part of the evolution. As the evolution happens, a particular animal essentially evolves, and at one point it becomes so different because of the reproduction process, that now these two new organisms that have been formed through the reproduction, they are not able to mate together, right? And so this essentially creates two different species. And The reason for that is there are mutations that are happening within the DNA, and that allow that to happen, because of which the different species get created over time, right? Of course, this is not a slow process. This is not a fast process. That this takes years. It probably takes like a century or more than a century for such kind of evolution to happen. But because of that evolution, we get different type of things. So we get beetles in all the different colors, like red and green and black and whatnot. And similarly, we get all the different kind of reptiles and so on. Now, niches are the environments that they kind of work in, right? So, for example, let me kind of give all of this into an example. Suppose um, we have a small area, and in that area, the beetle essentially keeps on evolving, and it's black in color, right? And slowly, it's evolving. And what happens after a point is one side of the family, in a sense, the animal family, the beetle becomes red, and the other side of the family, the beetle becomes green. And so now, these black beetles have turned into green and red beetles as well. So now there are three types of beetles in that area, right? So black, which is the original one, and red and green. Now, why is this important? Because over time, what's going to happen is, depending on the area, depending on the environment, the color of the beetle is going to tell if they're going to be surviving over there or not, right? So if majority of the plants over there are green, that means the red and the black beetle are going to be spotted very easily by different uh, things, or different animals, and they're going to be eaten, right? Mostly the birds. And if the majority of the plants over there are red or purplish in color, that means the black, or rather just the green one will be at a huge disadvantage, and will get, seen by the birds, and they will get plucked out. And this will create this whole idea of specialization in that particular niche. So the black beetles, the red beetles will automatically specialize into that particular niche, because anywhere else, if they go and they go on a green tree or a green leaf, they will get spotted and get eaten up. But in that particular area, in that particular environment where there are purple colored leaves, then suddenly they are safe because of their color. And so that particular specialization allows them to stay and survive in that particular niche. So why is this important? Because when you start looking at the world through this particular mental model, you see that it is happening to us humans as well. When we make the decisions about our career choices, this is exactly what's happening. We have to pick up a niche in which we are going to work, or we have to pick up a specialization in which we want to really go deep into, right? And all of the cutting edge is essentially happening at the edge of that particular specialization. So essentially, we have doctors, and then from doctors we became multiple different doctors. So from doctors we became the diagnostic doctors and the surgeons, and then from surgeons we became I don't know, laparoscopic surgeons, we became neurological surgeons or neurosurgeons. And similarly, there are different domains and so on. So today, there are so many fields that are essentially specializations. And what that does is essentially allows you to think from the bottom up that, okay, if I have to become a dentist, then how would that dentist really survive, right? As in, how would they earn? Will that person go to a doctor, as in work at a hospital, or will they have their own private practice, or will they figure out something else as well? So all of these things are essentially possible when you think about those decisions of taking a branch, or take which college to go through this particular mental model, right? So you essentially use the mental model to see what is happening on ground, and allow your thinking to pull you to a better decisions through that. Okay, I hope you're with me. I know these are difficult things to, one, to understand, two, to explain. So I'm trying my best to do that. But yeah, put it down in the comments if you have any particular problems or confusions, and I'll try to help out in the next video as much as possible. So, but mental models are very strong. I mean, these were essentially coined this term. I don't know where it came by, but I heard it maximum from Charlie Munger. And Charlie Munger was the business partner of Warren Buffett. All right. So he was a business partner of Warren Buffett, and uh, he was a great, great, great thinker. Like his book on, I think it's called Poor Charlie's Almanac. Yeah. His book, Poor Charlie's Almanac, is a great, great, great read. One for his life story, slight life story, and then second, his speeches and ideas and all of the things that he's trying to convey, again, through mental models and through all of these different things. In fact, that is where I took this whole idea of a mental toolkit, because I feel that this is important for children, for students, for teenagers. I mean, why is Charlie and the people who Charlie speaks with, why is it only applicable and available at the best and the world-class thinker level? Why don't we start that at the bottom, which is where the journey of a child, of a person starts, which is at the teenage level? Why don't we start over there and from there go forward? And so that's where all of this comes in, right? Now, next. So this is what mental models are about. Now, when I share about mental models, it's very easy to uh, think that these are all stupid things, and how is it really going to help me, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you another example and see, I'll tell you exactly how it helps you. Now, for example, let's say uh, if you think about getting more marks in exam, right, in a particular exam. So usually this is how parents think, that I want my child to have better marks in the exam. So what do? We ask them to study for maybe 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, depending on the schedule. But we keep increasing the time span of studying for the child. Second, we put them into extra classes, and these could be, after school classes. These could be whatever different classes that are there nowadays, or we just get them some additional help with in terms of books and whatnot, right? All of these are valid things to be done. But what if we think about what are the different things that will make sure that my child does not do well in this exam, right? We essentially reframe the question in a negative. So we are saying that what are the different things that will make sure that my child does not perform well in this particular exam, right? And now suddenly your mind will not go to the extra classes. It will now force itself to figure out what are the different other things that could possibly go wrong, so that it might take your child's marks down, right? And these could be very simply, what if he or she does not have pens, right? The right stationery is not there, and so they are not able to write, or they are not able to access the paper properly, right? It could be a problem. Similarly, what if they get fractured? Their hand get fractured, they get fever, they get I mean, on the day of the exam, or right before the day of the exam, they're able to they get all of these different things, right? Again, we're not saying that we can do much about it, but it is suddenly an option that we have to consider. It is suddenly an option that we have to avoid, right? We have to avoid getting sick. We have to avoid getting into a position where the child's arm gets twisted or sprained or fractured or whatever. Similarly, uh, it could be, uh, it could just be that uh, does the child, I mean, has this child slept well before the night, right? So this could also be, and this has happened to me as well, that because I was studying so much, I did not sleep properly at night on the day of the exam or right before the day of the exam. And because of that, I could not focus or concentrate during the exam, right? And suddenly, all of these things that are possible, that are negative in nature but can really drastically affect the outcome of that particular exam, which we did not consider in the first case when we were just goal oriented. This time we were thinking about all the possible ways that we can fail, and suddenly we have a new list of things that we can do, that we have to avoid, that we have to be mindful of, right? And that is exactly what inversion thinking is about. This exact process is what inversion thinking is, which is thinking in negatives, or how can one fail. So this is again a mental model, because essentially we did not change the situation. We just looked at the situation from a different angle. And suddenly we had a new set of possibilities that we could, you know, do something about. And so that's what I'm talking about. These are mental models. These are very strong. And this is just a small example. The exams is just a small examples. Of course, this can be applied to investing. This can be applied to health, this can be applied to accidents. I mean, a simple way of, I mean, Charlie used to say that, tell me where I'm going to die or how I'm going to die, and I'll make sure that I don't go there. And that's essentially inversion thinking. Tell me how I'm going to die, and I'll make sure that I won't go there, right? So we have been told again and again and again that we have to drive carefully. We have to, make sure that we're not looking at our phones, that we're not distracted when we're driving. All of these things we know about, and yet somehow we keep forgetting that the result of those seconds of distraction could be catastrophic, right? It can be catastrophic for everyone, for you, for the family, for everyone. And so inversion thinking really just brings it forward once again. It brings it forward. Okay, yes, I have to avoid that failure. I have to avoid that scenario where I'll get failure for sure, right? So that is inversion thinking. It's a great mental model, and something that Charlie essentially keeps on using and kept on using till the very day of his life, right? So that's another mental model that students can learn at this young age of 13, 14, 15, 16, and it's going to be incredible. Like, imagine I got to know about this just a couple of years back, so like 20, when I was 26, 27, and it has transformed my life, made my life so much better in terms of the decisions that I make, in terms of the simple purchases that I make, in terms of how I find my partner, like how I found my partner, my wife. Because before that, before I met my wife, I mean, I was in bad relationships all through. And then suddenly, I was able to apply this, get a very clear picture of what I don't want. And because I was very clear on what I don't want or what I didn't want at that time, I was able to say no to all the different people that came into my life at that time and only say yes to the person that was the right one, which turned out to be my wife. So all of these things are interconnected. All of these things work together. And when you allow them to work together, when you allow them to fit together, it becomes a beautiful, beautiful uh, mental lattice work, or rather lattice work of mental models that give you a clearer picture of the situation, right? So I'm going to skip this one. This is something that you can very easily search up online, or just look up Naval Ravikant on leverage, and you'll find it. So I'm just going to jump this one because we are slightly above the time limit that I had set out for this particular class, with this particular lecture. And we're going to go to the third one, which is frameworks. Now, frameworks are, this is again, there's the third way that you can help your child to become better at thinking. And frameworks is essentially can be used in two different ways. One is where you are learning through framework. And frameworks, first of all, let me share what it is. Frameworks are simplified ways of teaching something forward, right? These are just simple tools, simple ways of thinking, simple ways of teaching. Uh, that someone else has kind of created, right? So someone else kind of noticed, observed, did the work, and all of these different things, and boiled everything down, put in like hours and years maybe of effort, and boiled everything down to simple frameworks that can then be learned by you. And so these frameworks are really important. Again, these are all the things. What I'm telling you is these are the things that the child has to go and search and find. These are not the answers. These are just terms and things that they need to start gathering. Because what I'm mentioning, what I'm sharing over here, they are definitely applicable to them. But more importantly, these are just, I mean, these are a minuscule sliver of things that are on top of all the different things that they can find. So my idea over here is to give you the understanding as to these are the three different things that a child needs to start working on, start learning, start finding ways to read, to actually uh, think deeply about, so that they're able to apply it in the situations when, as and when they come in, right? It's not going to happen by chance. It's not going to happen by itself. It is going to happen only by deliberate practice. And that, I feel, is the fundamental truth that there is. Now, so in frameworks, so there are a lot of frameworks out there. There are so many frameworks out there to learn each and everything that you want to, right? And someone else has put in all the time and the energy and effort to kind of boil it down to simple steps, to simple ways of learning. So, for example, the couple of examples that I keep working on and keep coming back again and again is one, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a psychological concept, or you'll find it very popular in amongst psychology students. And it's a simple framework. It's a pyramid structure where he says there are different needs of human beings, and uh, people go from one need to the next. And so slowly, you kind of try to reach up. And these needs are essentially arranged in a particular format, or they are arranged in a particular hierarchy. So why is this important? Because once you understand the hierarchy, or once you understand that, oh, one, there are so many needs that a human has. Second, that there is a hierarchy between these needs. Once you understand that, then you can now start applying it to your own life. How can you apply it to your own life? You can apply it in creating content, or if you're into advertising and marketing, you can apply it over there. If you are into sales and persuasion and public speaking, you can apply it over there. Or in just simple conversation, with a partner, with a person of interest, with a potential client, all of these places, you start talking about different things. You first identify their need and figure out which hierarchy, or which plane they are at based on their demographics and psychographics and whatnot, and then try to understand how to talk to them, and persuade them. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a really cool concept to understand about our own brain, right? It's not just to understand and manipulate, but also to understand our own brain and our own needs and our own things, right? It just gives us a very clear set of instructions and goals. Okay, these are your survival needs, get them sorted, go to the next thing. These are your X needs, get them sorted, go to the next thing, right? Of course, it doesn't work linearly, but it is just a great way to understand yourself, your own being as a human on this planet. So that is a framework. That is a framework that Maslow essentially worked so hard, so long to create. And once it's created, now it's such a easy way to transmit forward, because we cannot keep sharing that 5 years of work by Maslow again and again. But we can share this framework very easily in a textbook again and again and again to as many people as needed and for as long as needed, right? So that's the power of frameworks. Next is time blocking. Time blocking is very simply, it's this simple idea that, you have to make things a priority. That means if there are things that are a priority, you have to give them time on your calendar. Until and unless the calendar is not blocked for that particular thing, your work or your priority will not actually happen. That work will not happen. And the simple reason is that if it's not there on the calendar, it's not there on our mind, we don't look at it, we miss out on it, it slips our mind, and so on and so forth. And so time blocking is just a simple framework that if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel that there are so many things, so many tasks, so many uh, uh, things that you have to do, but you're not able to do, the simple way out of it is to get control of your time and assigning the topmost or top three most priorities a dedicated time on your calendar so that you can actually focus during that time period and get that work done. That's the simple idea of time blocking, right? Again, it's very easy to share now because someone made it into a framework. Someone thought about it. Someone realized that this is a great way of actually improving your productivity. They created it into a framework of time blocking and published it. And once it was published, so many people, including myself, and hopefully now you, will be able to take use of it and actually put it to use, right? So that is time blocking. Next is the 5 whys. 5 whys, again, this was developed by Toyota, if I'm not wrong. And it was just a way to minimize manufacturing defects. You see how varied the examples I'm trying to give, right? One is in psychology, other one is in productivity, third is in manufacturing and reducing defects. And this was essentially used to improve the manufacturing process of Toyota by, whenever there was a defect at, whatever the assembly line, they would stop the assembly line and ask the 5 whys. Why is this affected? Whatever the result, whatever the answer comes in, why is that answer such and such? And then you basically keep asking why again and again and again. And if you ask it usually 5 times, you get to the root cause of it. And once you fix the root cause, you're able to get consistent results all across the way. And so that's the power of this particular framework, that you figure out the root cause, and then if you fix the root cause, you're able to solve everything. Now, think about it. Think about it. Most people, like, what if we apply the 5 whys to our own health? What if we apply the 5 whys to our own wealth? Do you understand the power of these frameworks? Now, of course, these frameworks are applicable in, say, manufacturing, but they are also applicable in your own life, in your own child's life. Uh, you know, uh, it is just like you can assess the behavior of a child through the 5 whys. Keep asking, like, why is my child behaving this way? And then whatever answer you get, why is that happening? And whatever answer you get, you try to go down 5 layers deep, and you tend to get to the root cause. And that root cause, once you solve that root cause, eventually you will start seeing the positive results that you wanted to see all through. Now, I'm not saying that this is just for this particular framework, but I'm saying that frameworks are so powerful because of this very reason. That once you start thinking in frameworks, once you start learning frameworks, and then start thinking in frameworks, you're able to simplify this complex world into simple ways, into simple terminologies, into ways that we've created. Like, for example, the one that I've created right now, to help your child think better than 99% people on earth. I'm sharing I'm sharing this framework of principles, mental models, and frameworks. Right? These are the three main ingredients that a child needs to start soaking in at a tender age, at a young age of 13, 14, 15, so that they become accustomed to it, so that they become attuned to using these in their daily life, right? So that's the idea. That's the cool part about what we're talking about over here. Now, this is the bonus one that I want to share, and this is essentially a meta skill, so to say. And again, it's all of the above are things that you or your child essentially has to kind of um, gather and keep gathering over and over and over again. But this one is essentially a skill, right? Now, and skill and all the others are different, because skill is something that you keep practicing again, 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 and you get better at it, right? For example, I can keep reading about riding a motorcycle, but I cannot really ride a motorcycle until I actually get on it and start riding it, right? So the actual act of sitting on a motorcycle and riding it, that's the skill. So when I practice that aspect, the real world aspect, only then I become skillful. So that's why learning how to learn is a meta skill, because once you figure out how to learn things better and faster, not the other way around. It has to be first better. That means you are a better student than everyone else, or your child is a better student than everyone else. And once you figure out the better part, only then you go to the faster part, right? Like once you figure out, okay, this is how I learn as deep and as best as possible, and then I make sure that I do that for different domains faster. So it's a meta skill. Now, the first important thing to understand over here that needs to be shared with your child, or you can share this particular video with them, is the tree formation. Education or any particular field is just like a tree. Okay, so it's just like a tree. What does that mean? The most important part are the foundations. Okay, foundations, which includes concepts, keywords, principles, assumptions. Sometimes there are assumptions as well, and so on. And these are the foundations. They form the tree trunk. Okay, that means they form essentially 80% of the things. Then the key branches of the field are the major branches of the tree. Now, what this means is essentially the tree trunk is the common thing amongst everything. And then if you go into different branches, so for example, if I were to study biology today, I would first try to study what is the basic idea of, what is the basic things in biology, the foundations of biology. And then you would start going into the different aspects, the branches of biology. So that could be biotechnology, that could be biochemistry, that could be going further into the head or the anatomy of the body, and so on and so forth. So first you understand the foundations, then you go into the key branches, essentially moving forward in that particular key branch and reading up more about that. And then finally, the leaves, fruits, etc. are the cutting edge, right? So then within that particular branch, there is cutting edge work happening in almost every field today. And so those are the leaves, the fruits, right? Depending on the technology, depending on the research, depending on what you're looking at. So for example, at one point, rubber was a technology. It was a very cool technology at its time. And it came out of a scientific, I mean, it was there was an experiment going on, but it was an accident that happened because of that experiment. And so, those were the leaves. Like once that accident happened, once rubber was made, then there was an entire field that opened up about rubber or about the use of plastic and kind of creating different things out of plastic, right? So that is essentially the tree formation of learning how to learn. So this is the first important thing to understand and to share with the students. Then the second one is Feynman method. Now, Feynman method is essentially Richard Feynman, who was a great physicist. He came up with this very simple framework again of learning how to learn, and then it also includes teaching. So essentially, what he did was he said, okay, you need to first go deep and learn about everything that you are trying to learn. Then, second, you have to simplify it into an digestible thing. Third, you have to teach it to a 5-year-old, right? In simple language, you have to teach it to a 5-year-old. If you're able to teach it to a 5-year-old, and if the 5-year-old is able to both understand and ask questions on it, then your understanding of this particular subject is correct and is good. But if not, then there are holes in your own thinking and there are holes in your own understanding of the thing. And so you have to go back and read the material, synthesize it all again into simplified form, and then do the entire process again. So it was essentially this process of deep research, simplify, teach to a 5-year-old, and refine. Refine means go back and do it again. So this was the Feynman method. Method is a really cool way to improve your own thinking, improve your own learning. It really speeds up things. And essentially, it's to say teaching is the best way to learn. Because when you're teaching, you really have to simplify things in such a way that the other person is able to grasp it uh, very easily without using jargons, without using difficult words, and so on. Right? So the Feynman method is a really, really cool way to, again, learning how to learn. And if the students start doing this at an early age, it becomes a practice within to do it again and again. Finally, let me share how to apply it in your child's life, right? So let me quickly cover all the things that we have covered, which is in order to help your child think better than 99% people on earth, you have to first understand what is the need for it. And in what my understanding and my main focus is the decision making. The decision making is getting more and more important. It is getting just more and more important. And this is the main skill that students really need to learn today. For decision making to improve, you have to go through, and the student essentially has to start picking up things which are the principles, the truths about the world, the cheat codes of the world, mental models, the ways of seeing the world, and the frameworks. Again, the simplified ways that someone else has figured out in order to teach you, right? So all of these, when they start grabbing these things quickly and fast in a fast manner, that's when they are able to upgrade their thinking in a faster way. And then the fourth one, the bonus one that I said was uh, the learning how to learn meta skill, right? And it is a skill. It is something that the student can develop within themselves slowly but surely. Now, coming to this, how to apply this, how to apply these in your own child's life, right? Because I know if I just give all of these things to you, it is great for, understanding and edutainment. Like, it's a great way of entertaining yourself and thinking that you've learned something, but how do you actually apply it in your own life, in your own day to day? So, first things is ask them to stay away from screens as much as possible. All right. And when I say screens, I mean the content. Okay. These are the content, the entertainment content I'm talking about. If you're watching, if your child is watching a lot of reels, if they're watching a lot of TikToks, watching a lot of um, random things on the internet, and just spending time on the internet, just doing this, then they might think again that they are putting in a lot of uh, information, knowledge in their own brain, but it does not stick. It does not stick. You and I both know that we keep spending so much time on all of these things and consuming all of this content, but nothing, or less than 1% of it actually ever sticks to us, where it takes up so much of our time and it takes up so much of our energy, right? Even though we're just scrolling or we're just sitting down in front of a screen, it takes up so much of our energy. So staying away from content is very important, because that allows them to go deeper. That allows them to actually get bored and start thinking, start using their own mind. Content essentially is a drug today. I mean, everyone says that students are addicted to Instagram and this and that and so on, but it is true. They are addicted, and we are also addicted, and I am also addicted. And it's difficult to get away from it, but we have to actively do that. We have to actively ask them to stay away from uh, content consumption, mindless content consumption, and actually be more intentional about it. So that is the first step, right? That is the first step. That's just to create that space, that space of thinking, that space of boringness in their mind, so that they're able to actually think about something else. Then second is to put them on a content diet. Now, content diet is important. So, content diet meaning that you cannot just completely cut them off from all of the content sources, because that's also not right. That's also not good for their own development. So, you need to put them on a content diet, and that could include newspapers. Again, it's your choice. I don't prefer it, but it is an option. Another one is newsletters, the right newsletters, right? Right newsletters could be by, say, Monish Pabrai. It could be by, founders. It could be by some good journalists, and so on and so forth. So newsletters are a great way to go deeper. This is a content diet. Deep analysis. Deep analysis videos are another important part of the content diet, which is like this one that I'm talking about. It's not a mini content that you just take in and push it out. Rather, I'm trying to actually teach the material, the meat of things, which stays for longer, right? For which stays for as long as possible. So this is a deep analysis video. And then, and there are so many other workshops, there are so many other videos that are there. Like Veritasium is really good. I also love the content. So, so just choosing the content more intentionally is really what I'm getting at, right? The right pieces where it actually stimulates your mind in a positive way, where you think more about those things rather than just mindlessly keep listening and taking it out from the other side, right? And uh, there can be podcasts. Like there are some amazing podcasts. Like Founders is a great one for me. Acquired is a great one for me, and so on, right? So all of these are, part of the content diet. So you essentially have to control what goes into your mind, the language that goes into your mind, and all of that really changes how a student behaves, how a student acts, how a student is in their day-to-day life, right? So first, stay away from the screen, stay away from content as much as possible. This is for the students again. Second is put them on a content diet, put this child on a content diet, give them the best resources in order to learn, right? Again, content diet meaning getting the best opinions from the world, not just in a particular place. It has to be from the world because we are living in a globalized world today. And second, it has to be both the side that you like or you kind of resonate with and the other side, so that they have conflicted information, conflicted opinions, so that they can now make up their own mind, right? So that's what we're trying to stimulate. We are trying to stimulate that part of the brain which essentially thinks, which essentially makes those decisions, which essentially brings that courage out. Hey, like this is what I believe, and this is why, and I'm going to stick by it, right? A decision is important. A decision without any courage is stupid because that does nothing. But a decision with courage, with conviction, is the one that we want because that's what stays and that's what you protect for a long time. Next, in your day-to-day exam things, when they ask a question, especially when it's about the world or something like that, then don't tell them the answer. Rather, ask for their understanding first, right? Ask for their understanding of the world first. We want to understand how they are seeing this particular situation. We want to understand how they are seeing this particular thing that they're asking for, right? So, for example, all the war that is going on around, I'm sure there will be questions about it on the dinner table, on the breakfast table, on the lunch table, if that's possible for you. And so, I want you to not give them the answers or not give them your opinion outright, because then again they essentially are not using their own mind. They are essentially just seeking all the different information from here and there. What we want to do is we want to ask them for what they are thinking, how they are assimilating everything at this point, and then go into a debate into it, right? Then go into a debate, go into pressing their ideas, go into sharing what your idea is. So then go into a debate or conversation with them. Again, do not press your opinions on them, because the moment you start pressing your opinions, we are we're again going into this fear-based thing. We want it to be a dialogue. We want it to be a debate. We want it to be a way for them to start igniting their brain and thinking of all of these patterns and recognition and these connections that happen all around us, but we are just not looking for them. So that's why don't tell them the answer. Ask them for their understanding first. Then ask for pattern recognition. Ask for pattern recognition. What that means is ask what they learned. Okay, so what they learned new, it could be anything. It could be in YouTube or through YouTube, or it could be in, say, photography. It could be in, say, biology, maths, whatever the child is interested in. Try to figure out what they're interested in. Of course, I mean, you would already know, but try to figure out what they've learned recently. And then once you have that answer, ask them, like, hey, can this be applied somewhere else as well? Can this be applied somewhere else, in some other situation as well? Is this true in some other situation as well? Right? For example, as I'm constantly giving you this, like the whole idea of entrepreneurship through physics is this notion that there are these physics principles and concepts that are applicable in entrepreneurship as is, and they relate and correlate very easily. And so that's what pattern recognition is, that hey, like this idea of leverage, which is applicable in physics, and it's a law in physics. We can essentially use that concept whiz a whiz in entrepreneurship and business, and it works beautifully. In fact, it works so well that essentially everyone else has to get on this bandwagon of creating content and getting that leverage for themselves and building that distribution and so on and so forth, so that they are able to create, uh, you know, a sustainable business for themselves, right? So that is pattern recognition. And so you have to ask for their pattern recognition. Again, do not give the answer yourself because that does not help anyone. You have to first ask them what they've learned recently and then see if that thing can be applied to some other domain. It's not important that if it's right or wrong. It's more important that they start thinking in this way uh, altogether, right? That direction is much more important. And over time, if you do it regularly, religiously, you make it into a regular practice, it becomes one, it becomes a great way for you to bond with them. And second, it becomes a great way for you to engage in a conversation with them where both of you are dissecting, okay, hey, this is what I learned, and this is also true in this domain, right? I mean, I keep doing that all through again and again and again. Like when this whole AI thing came in, this whole agents thing came in, like AI agents thing came in. I mean, I kept correlating it with with our housemates, right? I mean, our housemates and helping how they kind of help out and how they kind of work with us. And I just kept, I mean, it was just so fascinating for me to see that AI agents were essentially similar to our housemates, where you had to give them a particular input in a way, in a particular framework, right? So that they're able to do their job to the maximum of the capacity. It's never going to be 100% to your liking because your liking keeps on changing. But yes, it's similar. And similarly, over here also in AI agents, it's the same thing. So my mind keeps working in this pattern recognition way. And that is a great way because then that speeds up the learning so much quicker because the same skill of working with our housemate can then be literally applied into when I'm working with AI or when I'm working with the AI agent, right? So pattern recognition is really important. So ask for what they learned and then try to see how they apply it to some other domain. Again, it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be world changing, it just has to be within their own life, like what they kind of see all around themselves, right? And this is the last one, which is super, super, super powerful, which is play a game of Feynman method every time you're driving somewhere. It's so simple. You're driving somewhere, or it could just be traveling somewhere. It's so simple. I mean, this will one allow them to fall in love with learning. Second, it will become their second, uh, I mean, it will just become their way of thinking that, hey, like whatever I have to learn, I will learn. I mean, this is so cool. Whatever I learned, this is so cool that I really have to ingest it properly so that I'm able to teach it to my father, my mother, my brother, my cousins, whoever as easily as possible. And that's the skill that we are trying to kind of develop for them, right? So play a game of Feynman method every time you're driving or traveling somewhere, right? Just sitting in the car, talk to each other, ask one another, hey, what is that one thing that you've learned this past week? And do you want to share it? Do you want to explain it to us like we're five? And they'll start. I mean, if it's something interesting that they've learned, if it's something, and it again, it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be, okay, hey, like I learned how to build a rocket ship. It has to be very simple. It can be anything. It can be, hey, I learned how to make I don't know. I learned how butterflies come out of a larva, right? That can be a simple thing that they've probably learned in this week, and then they are explaining to you in simple words and simple language so that you understand like you're five. And that is a practice that's going to help them, benefit them so much, so much, so much. So, That's it. That's kind of it. It's actually quite simple. It's actually quite simple to uh, get your child to think better than 99% of the people out there, because it is so, I mean, these are simple things, but no one does the simple things. Unfortunately, the simple things are also easy not to do than they are to do. And that's why most people avoid them. So I wish you, through this video, that you go ahead and try it. I want to invite you in and try it out. Uh, Share this particular video with your child and see their, interest. Maybe you can watch it together once again. And I would love that feedback in the comments. And I would love to hear stories as to what kind of comes out of it for you. And yeah, if you like this, if you want to join in, uh, follow the channel and reach out to us over email or through the link in the description. Uh, and yeah, we'll hop on a call and we'll see how we can work together to one of the courses, or maybe one of the workshops that we have or are upcoming for us. So yes, this is Atre, and I'm glad that you watched till the end. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.